Oh, boy. This channel sure has seen better days, hasn't it? Well, how's about we get back into the swing of things then, huh? Hey, how goes it, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. So sorry it's taken all of 4 years to make another video. Life just, kinda happened, you know? In any case, Death Battle sure is a series, isn't it? I love this show a lot, and I've been an avid watcher of it ever since Goomba vs. Koopa was a new thing back in, 2011. God, I feel fucking ancient. Uh, well, I was actually going to do something for this show last year to celebrate its 10th anniversary, but, senior year of college happened. What can you do? Looking to the now, though, Season 9 is back from its mid-year break, so I figured I'd go ahead and take a look at what the new episode had on offer. Because why not, right? And goddamn, what a matchup to come back on. It's so weird to think that we've gone over 160 episodes and we're just now seeing James goddamn Bond enter the ring. And with how high profile both he and John Wick are, it makes total sense to have a matchup like this be the one to ring in the back half. And I was pretty excited to see what they would do with it. Even speaking as someone who hasn't seen any of the Bond movies and still has yet to see any of Wick's films all the way through. So, did the episode deliver? I'd definitely say so, but how's about I actually get into talking about why instead of dragging this intro out any further? No, I don't have any idea how to open these things. Thank you for noticing. Starting with the analysis, I thought it was pretty fun, especially Bond's rundown. I really enjoyed learning about all of the crazy gadgets and feats that Bond has under his belt, and I got a chuckle out of Wiz losing his breath at describing all of Bond's various skills from across his career. I had also went in expecting that they would go into Bond's proficiency at seduction, given that's one of his big shticks. I mean, one of the things he's best known for, but damn, I didn't expect it got as absurd as it has. I mean, how do you manage to woo an assassin you knew for just over a minute so thoroughly that they take a bullet for you? Christ. Wick's analysis is no slouch either, though I do personally think it's the weaker of the two. They do a good job emphasizing how stupid tough he is, as well as how big of a mistake it is to piss him off, and I thought the way they approached analyzing Wick's fighting style was pretty interesting, going over the styles that Keanu used in preparation for the films, since we don't canonically know what Wick's actual fighting style is. I had heard worries that they would oversell the whole deal with the pencil, which made me a bit worried in turn, but I'm pleasantly surprised that they didn't go that route, thank God. And to top it off, they said the word Fortnite in relation to John Wick. That alone makes it a top tier episode. There were honestly only a couple of bits where I can't say I was as big on them. Namely, I felt the structure with the Blofeld bit was a bit off, Wick's cutaway just kinda felt like nothing, and I'm kinda sick of hearing the goddamn Batman. Like, you can just say Wick can disappear like Batman, but no, apparently not. But, to get back on a positive note, one overarching aspect that I really liked was the character coverage, especially how the two mirror each other in that the loss of their loved ones was the catalyst to them becoming even more remorseless killers than they already were. Also, it's just nice to see Boomstick getting into the specs of real-life guns again. It feels like it's just been a long time since we got that, and it feels really refreshing to see it here. Or maybe I just haven't been paying attention, that is also possible. And lastly, I thought them including all of the Bond movie titles into the script and the running gag of Boomstick's pen clicking were neat. I don't have anything else to say there. So the fight then. To start off, they're really on a roll with these character-focused episodes, aren't they? First Janjiro, then Magtsuo, and now this. And this episode even has extra little touches to make this feel more like a unified world. Bond is actively there on a mission to take down the Baba Yaga, and his license to kill bypasses the Continental's rules. Meanwhile, Wick acknowledges MI6 and wants to know what the hell they want with him. I'm always a sucker for when they throw in little details like that, it's just really nice to see. On the other end of the quality scale, though, are the visuals. Don't get me wrong, I don't think this looks bad for the most part, but I definitely think it's the weakest in the season in that regard. Though that mostly comes down to the models not looking the best, especially with Bond's weird hands and Wick looking like he's balding. Oh, and there's also that one other thing, but we'll get to it. I'd say it's balanced out by the voice acting, though. Mornell does well getting across Wick's more quiet and level tone, as does Stephen Kelly in conveying Bond's natural charisma, and I'd say he gets the shaken not stirred line spot on. Hugh even gets some lines here, and he's played by Liam Swan. Man, between this and Popeye, dude's got range. Okay, actually getting into the fighting. Bond and Wick shoot each other in the dick, and there's the sounds of a crowd panicking? Wait, I didn't see anyone else there, what the fuck? Well, anyway, it's followed up by Jesus effing Christ! So, this right here is that one other thing I said we'd get to. This first hand-to-hand exchange is so awkward, and it's by far the jankiest thing I've seen in not just this episode, but the entire season so far. The shading mostly just disappears, Bond looks like he's not even reacting in the right direction when the chair hits him, Wick picking up the chair single-handedly at all looks goofy as hell, and the movements look like they're running in place while the models just slide into position. I swear to God, this shit looks unfinished, but it's so unintentionally funny that I can't stay mad at it. Jesus. Thankfully, it only picks up from there. Bond asks for one last smoke, Wick uses it as a chance to interrogate him, and it acts as both a good character moment and as a solid setup for the cigar rocket, which seems like a very Bond thing to do. Plus, it helps Wick not look like an idiot for not shooting Bond immediately. We get a shot of the two's bullets clashing after they fire at each other, and this is the one instance where I wish that they had brought another gadget into play, namely the spread shot bullet since they highlighted that specifically, but I'd say it balances out for me personally since they also show Bond getting grazed by Wick's bullet, being the first instance of showing that, despite everything, James Bond isn't invincible. From here, the hand-to-hand is a lot better, and I'd call it a hell of a step up from the Blender team's previous outings in this regard. Glad to see that they're continuing to improve. The bit with Wick snatching Bond's pen to weaponize it only for the two to wrestle over it is pretty fun, as is the quip from Bond right before the explosion cuts him off, though it's after they fall through the floor that the animation really starts to pick up. Bond calls in the Aston Martin to fire at Wick, only to get his phone shot out of his hand and for the car to run out of control, leading to a gloriously chaotic knife fight as the two duck between pillars and underneath bullets so that they don't get turned into Swiss cheese. Easily my favorite bit of actual combat between the two. It comes to a head as Bond gets disarmed and stabbed, forcing him to headbutt Wick in order to get some distance. And since Wick is distracted blocking the car's gunfire, Bond actually gets time to go retrieve his gun, leading into the ever-iconic barrel shot, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kinda torn on this moment. I don't dislike it at all, in fact, I'd be surprised and a little disappointed if they hadn't worked it in. It reflects their conclusion of Bond being the faster shot, too, and even without that, shooting Wick through the barrel of his own gun is just a cool moment. The reason I'm torn is that it doesn't really add up to me that Bond's regular-ass pistol was able to pierce through Wick's bulletproof suit, even though he tanked Gatling gun fire literal seconds earlier. And I don't even remember them bringing up anything in Bond's arsenal that could actually get through it, unless I missed something. Ah well, it is what it is, and Wick powering through more rounds as he goes to tackle Bond is raw as hell, and him trying to make Bond shoot himself is pretty cool too. Then we get to the death, and I gotta say, I liked it. Bond pulling out the laser watch isn't some last-minute ass pull since he actually uses it and fails earlier on in the fight, and Wick not moving out of the way of the falling chandelier seems pretty on brand from what I understand of him. He's not afraid of his own death, rather he just accepts it. The one nitpick I have about it is Wick not reacting to being pushed onto the car, but not like it's the end of the world or anything. Also, it's funny that I compared this to the episodes I did earlier, because this one also ends with a bit of an emotional moment. In this case, Wick's phone going out on a picture of his wife. It's brief, but it's a nice touch. Then Q checks in on Bond and the mission status, Bond gets in that last quip, and Q tells him to grow up. A nice little way to close things out. And the conclusion is pretty solid. I've always liked it when matchups don't just boil down to this guy can punch a bajillion times harder than the other guy, and this one's no different, especially with how dead even the two were, to the point that, if it weren't for the gadgets, Bond would just barely edge out with his speed and experience. Using this time to wrap up the pen jokes and the movie titles was also nice, though I have to say it feels a little weird not having the usual kind of boomstick pun at the end. So, yeah, overall I really enjoyed this episode, and I think it was a good forward for the back half. There was the odd bump in the road here and there, but there wasn't anything in the episode that I can say I outright disliked. That said, there is one aspect of this episode that I feel I really need to address. While I don't feel that Wick got snubbed in any way, man, this episode really felt like the James Bond show, and the track does not help. Secret Service is a good track, don't get me wrong, and it feels like it was ripped straight out of a Bond movie, but I had a hard time getting a John Wick feeling out of it. Yeah, I guess that's just the consequence of having one character with decades of material and history, and one character who has barely more than 3 movies to his name. Still, that doesn't take away from how much I liked this episode, and I'm glad it's still continuing the good streak of the ones that came before it. Here's hoping the rest of the season will keep carrying that torch. Oh, and speaking of the rest of the season, the next episode sure is Black Adam vs. Apocalypse. Even with them having already previewed Adam, this would have been more of a surprise if the YouTube bot hadn't accidentally leaked the track early, oopsie poopsie. But man, to think that this of all matchups has become this big suit and tie event. I'm not particularly surprised knowing this community, but it is still surreal that these are the times we're in. I probably won't be all that involved in the festivities of the whole affair, but I'm fine just being happy that everyone else is happy, especially Biff and friends since this is their big in-joke match. Hope the hype ends up being worth it, guys. As far as what I want from the episode, I don't know, have Adam do the funny Dwayne Johnson eyebrow raise, sure, why not? In all seriousness, hopefully we can get a good Shazam shout out of this. Goku Black gave us the best Kamehameha shout last year, so hopefully lightning can strike twice. Pun intended. Beyond that, I'm just interested in learning about the characters, as always. I have nothing else to say about the matchup itself, so hopefully I'll have plenty to say about the episode. And yes, I am planning on covering the episode after it drops. I'm not just going to put up a single video and drop off the face of the earth again. Oh, and for anyone who's curious about my thoughts on the first half of the season, I'll drop my ranking on screen right now, and I'll save my actual full thoughts for an end-of-year ranking. As for this channel's future beyond just reviews, I may or may not have an idea or two kicking around upstairs, but I don't want to ruin any surprises for anyone. But yeah, that's my piece, so I'm going to call it there, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Stay safe out there, and have a good one.